said you grew up in Texas. At the University of Tulsa, you were awarded your Conference Freshman of the Year.
Yes, I was.
How did that feel? Beginning of your career, getting awarded something like that big.
Yeah, it felt great. And one of the reasons why I chose Tulsa is when I had a conversation with the coach, he said that I was going to compete for a spot. I know a lot of these big universities, when you go there, they tell you you're not going to play as a freshman. So I wanted to go somewhere where I could play right away, or at least compete to play. So that's why I chose Tulsa, and it felt amazing to go out there and play as many games as I did and to get Freshman of the Year.
Right, that was definitely a big incentive of you definitely getting that playing time.
Yeah, definitely. That was like, especially at my age, to be able to play games and to continue to develop.
Right, for sure. And now by your senior year, 2014?
2015, I think, was my senior year.
2015. All right, so in 2014, you were awarded captain's armband, right? Captaining the team to conference championship.
Yeah.
A little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, that's what we go for every year, to start off with the conference championship and then go to the national championship. But to be able to do it my senior year, the last year that I was there, was just a good feeling to be able to do it, and I guess leave that for the university.
So what do you say is the difference from collegiate sports going to professional? Like, how big is the jump?
I think it's a pretty big jump. Not only speed of play, but also speed of thinking. I think the tactical aspect of it at the pro level is a lot better than it is at the college level. So a lot of players are thinking a lot faster and not just running around the place, kind of like it is in college with the physical aspect of it.
Right. And a lot of your friends, mates, you've seen throughout the years through college, you've seen them go pro as well?
Yeah, not at the University of Tulsa. There's a couple of my teammates, I guess, that are playing USL now, but a lot of players that I played against at like Akron and Virginia that I played against that are playing in the pros now.
Right. So now you got your move in 2016, Orlando City's second team in the USL. Shortly after, you got a bump up to the first team. How did it feel knowing that you were at the highest level in the MLS for Orlando City?
I mean, that's what my dream was whenever I left college, was to sign an MLS contract. And I was lucky enough to go to the USL team where I was training day in and day out, and the MLS coaches were watching me. So just being in that environment on a daily basis, I think helped me make that jump from the USL to the MLS team.
And like you mentioned, the environment, did you ever feel like it was you didn't have enough time to do what you wanted?
What do you mean?
As far as like achieving your goals, did you feel like you were always on a clock that you had to do this at a certain period of time?
No, not really. I mean, I was just taking it day by day. Honestly, I knew if I continued to play how I was playing in the USL, that I was going to make that jump to the MLS team.
Right, that's awesome. And now we've seen you play with Orlando City. We've seen you play with against the likes of Ibrahimovic, Jovinko, Avdia. Who do you think is the best player you've come up against?
Yeah, I would say Sebastian Jovinko, whenever he came. I think he came in his prime whenever he played in Toronto, and just to see what he did in the league, and it was an honor to play against him.
Yeah, it's nuts what he can do. For his height,
yeah.
Skill is amazing too, so that's awesome. So now in 2019, you debuted with the Belize national team. What was that like for your family? Can you give us a little background as well as how that happened, as you were born in Belize?
So I was born in the U.S., but my mom was born in Belize. She moved to the States, I think, in like 1980 or 81 or something like that. So I knew I always had that opportunity to play for Belize. My first, I guess, goal was to play with the U.S. national team. But that, as I got a little older, I knew that wasn't going to happen. So I decided to apply for citizenship in Belize in 2019 and go down there and play for the country.
And that must have felt like an amazing achievement for you and your family, right?
Yeah, definitely. And especially for my mom to be able to, I guess, watch her son play for a nation that she was born and grew up in.
Right, for sure. And do you think that decision to choose Belize over waiting for a call up for the U.S., do you think that was a little difficult for you, or you just felt like it was the right thing to do?
I think at that point, like, you understand whenever you see players your age or even younger make the national team and consistently go to camps and stuff, and you're not getting called in, that window is closing or it's been closed. So I think it was just a decision that had to be made.
Totally. When you look at the MLS now, do you see a big difference compared to you were in the USL Championship as well? What's the difference like in style of play, in the way the coaches perform, the players perform?
Between the USL and MLS?
MLS.
Yeah, I would say it's intensity. Because whenever I played in the USL, like the training sessions weren't as intense as it was in MLS. And I think what the MLS does that the USL doesn't do is just kind of keep that intensity in training day in and day out. And that training or that intensity in training definitely translates to the games. And so I think that's the biggest difference. Like if you would ask anybody that's played in both the USL and the MLS, like the talent isn't that much of a difference. It's the little things that I guess, like I said, the intensity and maybe a little bit of skill that's the difference between USL and MLS.
For sure. And now when we look at the US pyramid, the soccer pyramid system, I know there's a lot of controversy over whether there's no relegation, there's no promotion. Do you think that there's less of an incentive to work as hard to be promoted or to be relegated like in other leagues?
I would say there's less of an incentive for, I guess, like MLS teams to not get relegated. Like if they're losing or anything, I think maybe their biggest thing is to just try to make money in that sense and not worry about going down in the second division. But definitely there's incentives for the USL teams because I think regardless of if you get promoted as an MLS or as a USL team to MLS team, or if you're playing on that team, like the chance of you being seen to go to MLS team is still there. So I think the players are definitely motivated, even though there's no promotion or relegation.
Cool. Now, me myself, I was born in New York, so for me, New York is blue. I went to the first inaugural game for New York City.
Okay. Yeah.
So you moved to New York City 2019. How was the jump and being able to realize that you're representing New York City, one of the biggest cities in the world too?
Yeah, so actually I never came to New York before I moved here as a team or to the team. So like I didn't know what New York was about. Like I knew everybody was talking about New York and how great New York was a city and stuff. And I didn't really get to experience it until I moved here to see, I guess, the pride that New Yorkers have for living in New York and how they say it's the greatest city in the world. And it actually is. Being here for 3 years, like I've experienced the culture. I consider myself now a New Yorker, so it's been a good change.
Right. And now you had to leave family behind in Texas?
Yeah. My mom and dad both still live in Houston.
And they would
so I left them behind
as well?
What was that?
They would come out to watch games as well in New York?
No, they actually haven't made it out to New York to watch a game yet.
All right.
Yeah.
So now with New York, with your time at the club, can you give us a breakdown on what a day in the life looks like of a player?
Yeah. So wake up in the morning. I have a morning routine going. So I try to wake up a couple hours before I leave, do my morning routine. I have a dog here in New York as well. So take him out for a walk before I leave and then head to training. And then when I get there, then it's just breakfast that we have in the morning with the team. And then afterwards, then it's getting massage or getting treatment or just doing prehab before training starts. Right. And then we all train together as a team. And then after training, depending on the day, we have workouts afterwards. And then we finish with lunch. And then after that, then I come home and it's just whatever I want to do for the rest of the day.
And how'd you get used to, the climate change? You go from Orlando to New York. How was that?
Yeah, I actually loved it. Like I love the seasons here in New York. Like in Orlando, probably one of the hottest, most humid places to play during the summer. So when I moved up here and summers were really nice, not that humid, and it was a great change.
Really cool. So now, what can you say is your best and your most favorite part of New York, being here with the club and just living there for the time being?
So I think with the club would definitely be the culture that they had there. When I first came here, the team was welcoming, both the players and the staff and everything, and just the culture that they created before I got here and was continuing to build on when I was there. And then I guess the best thing for the city, I don't know. I mean, there's so much to talk about that's going on in the city with so many events going on, so many things to do, and I just love living there for this past year.
Cool. Now, are there any players on the team or managers, coaches, assistant managers that you've grown like a special bond with that it was hard to leave to?
Yeah. So one of the players was actually, he got traded to LAFC in the middle of the season with Sebastian Biaga, where I became really good friends this past year. And to see him leave was kind of tough, but I know he did it for the betterment of his career. So happy for him. And then another one was Luis Barraza as well, the backup goalkeeper. We got really close this year, and then I ended up having to leave at the end of the season.
I saw you guys took the picture together with the trophy as well.
Yeah,
that's cool. So now, so you have 2 appearances in the MLS playoffs. What was the atmosphere like as you were growing, like getting closer and closer to the final?
In the stadium?
Yeah.
Um, we played the away game, or we played like away games apart from the first game. So the stadium was actually quiet. Like the only one that I guess was loud was the Philadelphia one whenever they scored first, and then we quickly responded back. But every other game, like New England, I think we had control there. Like they had, I don't know how many fans they had in the stadium, but the stadium was pretty quiet. And then the Portland game, I feel like we dominated most of the game, and then they luckily got that last goal in the 10 seconds.
You felt the pressure when you were on. Obviously, you had to.
Like when I went on the field?
Yeah.
Not really, to be honest. Like I knew, I don't know what it was, but I didn't feel any pressure going into the game. Like I knew, I guess, the job that I had to do on the field, and just the players on the team that had already done so well leading up to whenever I got on the field.
Awesome. And now you talk about the atmosphere in the stadium. How about the atmosphere inside the locker room with the coaches and the players?
Yeah, that had been consistent throughout the entire season. Like regardless of how close we were to the MLS Cup final, I think the coach did a good job of keeping our mentality the way it was and not getting too hyped up since we were getting close to the MLS Cup final. So it was just a great environment in the locker room. We were having a lot of fun. We were just enjoying the moment and taking it game by game.
And was there always that sense of winning mentality since the beginning?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think every team going into the season, their goal is to win the MLS Cup. So that was definitely ours at the beginning of the season. But like I said before, the coach and a lot of the captains that we had on the team did a really good job of keeping us centered and focused and taking it game by game.
And in this season, what do you say was your biggest struggle?
Biggest struggle was not playing. I didn't get that many minutes on the field. And so just going to training and trying to do my best and kind of see the big picture of my career and not taking it, I guess, just for the season that I'm not playing. And like you said, I played in 2 playoff games and probably more minutes than I did during the regular season. So just trying to be available for the team and then being ready whenever my name was called.
Right. And your favorite achievement?
Definitely winning MLS Cup. Just having that title now in front of my name.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I was going to ask you exactly that question. How did it feel? You guys win 2 trophies this season, the Eastern Conference Championship, and the MLS Cup. Back-to-back. It felt, for me as a fan, it felt so quick. Everything happened that fast, and I just got to see everyone smiling faces.
Yeah.
It was blown out. It was great.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was an amazing experience. Like, I'll never forget it. It's actually funny because we were struggling, I think it's September going towards the end of the season, and like we almost didn't make playoffs. And I think the Miami game was a game that was like the turnaround. And after the game, we had a winning streak going into the season. And I remember just the locker room change after that Miami game going into the end of the season. I was like, there's no way that we're not going to win this thing. So going all the way and just winning it with the traveling fans that we had was an amazing experience.
That's awesome. Now, so you mentioned before your time with New York City FC is now over as far as your contract goes. What's the next move for you?
Still free agent, so just looking for another team right now. So currently just working out, enjoying my off time as much as I can because I know season could be a little strenuous. So just waiting to see what the next move is.
And in the off season, is there a specific type of training regimen that you're doing, or are you just, like you mentioned, enjoying time with family?
Yeah, I mean a little bit of that, but also trying to stay fit with running and lifting as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, best of luck to the rest of your career, regardless. But we usually end the interviews with this specific question for our viewers. Non-league football is what we're centered around, so we usually like to know what do you say? What's your best advice to give to players who are at the non-league level, grassroots level, who still have that dream of going pro?
Yeah, I would say to believe in yourself. I think maybe there's so many people probably telling them that they can or they're too old or anything like that, but just having that mentality that just showing up every day and having the mentality of I can do it, I can make it, and just being positive and consistent, then regardless of what other people say, they'll be able to do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tony, for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks again for having me on.